The Huawei Watch Fit for Pro is being marketed quite aggressively as a competitor to the Apple Watch Ultra 2, and it definitely shows many similarities but only costs a fraction of the price. But can it really keep up? I've tested both the Apple Watch Ultra 2 and more recently the Huawei Watch Fit for Pro, and in this video I want to show you all the similarities and differences between the watches and help you decide whether the significantly more affordable Huawei watch is a serious rival to the Ultra 2. So let's get started, have fun. Visually, there are definitely some obvious similarities between the two watches. Both are rectangular with rounded corners and generally have a very robust and premium look. The Apple Watch Ultra 2 has a titanium case, while the Huawei Watch Fit for Pro mainly uses aluminum, with only the bezel made of titanium. Additionally, the two side buttons on the Ultra 2 are further protected by a prominent bridge. Both watches are available in only one size. However, the Ultra 2 is significantly larger with its 49x44mm case compared to 44.5x40mm on the Watch Fit for Pro. The difference in thickness is even more noticeable. The Apple Watch is 14.4mm thick, while the Huawei watch is only 9.3mm, making it far better suited for slimmer wrists. This also shows in the weight. The Watch Fit for Pro weighs just about 30 grams, roughly half as much as the Apple Watch Ultra 2. Overall, the Apple Watch is definitely more robust and premium due to its higher titanium content, but the Huawei Watch Fit for Pro holds its own quite well, striking a solid balance between durability and lightness. Both watches are certified for diving up to a depth of 40 meters, but the Apple Watch Ultra 2 has a water resistance rating of 10 ATM, while the Huawei watch just provides 5 ATM, which is also pretty good though. The Apple Watch Ultra 2 also includes a dedicated dive computer app. The displays are comparable. The Ultra 2 features a 1.92-inch display with 502x410 pixels, while the Watch Fit for Pro has a 1.82-inch display with 480x408 pixels. In terms of brightness, both watches reach peak values of up to 3000 nits. In my opinion, both are extremely bright with vivid colors and strong contrast, nothing to complain about here. Both displays are also protected by extremely shatter and scratch resistant sapphire glass, bringing us back to the topic of durability. So once again, overall the Apple Watch Ultra 2 is more rugged and high-end, but also bulkier and heavier, making it less ideal for smaller wrists. And then we have to talk about the price, of course, and this is a massive difference between both watches, because the Apple Watch Ultra 2 currently sits in at around $800, while for the Huawei Watch Fit for Pro I just have to pay 280 euros here in Germany, so it's just around a third of the price of the Apple Watch Ultra 2. But more on that later in my conclusion. While both watches are quite similar in terms of specs and looks, a first key difference lies in battery life. Huawei promises up to 7 days of typical usage and even breaks down how this figure is calculated, such as 30 minutes of calls and music playback per week plus 180 minutes of workouts. With the always-on display enabled, you can still expect about 4 days, while the maximum battery life is up to 10 days. The Apple Watch Ultra 2 doesn't even come close to these numbers. According to Apple, the Ultra 2 lasts up to 36 hours in normal usage, just 1.5 days, and up to 72 hours in power saving mode. Apple traditionally tends to be a bit conservative with these kinds of specs. In my case, the Ultra 2 lasts about 2 days with intensive use, whereas the Huawei Watch Fit for Pro lasts 5 to 6 days, which is significantly longer. During workouts, both watches drain the battery at a similar rate, so it's mainly the entire watchOS software running in the Ultra 2's background that really drains the battery. Both devices are primarily smartwatches, of course, but personally I like to test my watches from a sports perspective, so let's now talk about the sports, fitness and health features. Scrolling through the menus and widgets, you'll notice that Huawei's design draws a lot of inspiration from Apple. Control is also handled via a rotating crown, and the app layout is very similar as well. However, the Ultra 2 has a programmable action button that lets you start specific actions instantly. For example, I use it to start a running workout right away. Otherwise, both watches are equipped with nearly every sensor you can think of: accelerometer, temperature sensor, gyroscope, barometer, and now the Watch Fit for Pro even even includes an ECG sensor, which its predecessor did not have. Both watches can record many fitness and health data, so steps, heart rate variability, blood oxygen saturation, and, like I said, both can perform ECGs. On the Apple Watch you also get the Vitals app, which shows you key health data at a glance, including whether your values are within a normal range. During workouts, both watches can record numerous stats, including advanced running metrics such as balance, vertical oscillation, and ground contact time. For cycling, you can also stream real-time data to your smartphone and use it as a bike computer. However, when it comes to safety features, there is a difference. The Apple Watch Ultra 2 includes fall and crash detection, lets you press and hold the side button to contact emergency services and share your location, and even features a built-in siren. Huawei doesn't offer these safety features in the Watch Fit 4 Pro, they are reserved for the more expensive Watch 5. For long-term training analysis, both watches offer various widgets. On the Huawei Watch Fit 4 Pro, you get the so-called Running Ability Index, which compares your performance with other runners. You'll also see your training load, training index, recovery suggestions, and your VO2 max. The Apple Watch Ultra 2 shows your training load as well, specifically the ratio of short-term load, which is the last 7 days, to long-term load of the last 28 days. This helps you assess whether you're training more or less than usual and whether you are potentially over or under training. It can of course also estimate your VO2 max. Apple and Huawei take different approaches to training analysis, but I'd say both are effective and useful, though naturally not on the level of dedicated sports watches from Garmin, Suunto or Coros. A major difference between both watches is also that you can almost unlimitedly expand the functionality of the Apple Watch Ultra 2, which you can't really do for the Huawei Watch Fit 4 Pro. As an iPhone user, you don't have access to an app store on the Huawei Watch. Android users do, but the selection is still very limited. With the Apple Watch, on the other hand, you get full access to the App Store with thousands of apps available. I've actually made a separate video about the best apps for the Apple Watch, which I've linked in the video description below. There are tons of great apps for navigation, sleep tracking, improved fitness and health data, and much more. That said, the Huawei Health app is also very well designed. It offers a clear overview of all your tracked data and stats throughout the day, plus lots of workouts and relaxation exercises you can use for free. You can also have entire training plans created for you. This brings us to the smart features, and here it's clear that the Apple Watch Ultra 2 takes the lead. On the Huawei Watch you can upload music via the app, but you won't find any streaming service apps. So if you want to listen to Spotify, for example, you can only control playback on your smartphone remotely. Additionally, the watch doesn't support data transfer via Wi-Fi or LTE, everything is synced solely via Bluetooth with the paired smartphone. The Watch Fit 4 Pro also does not support eSIM. The Apple Watch Ultra 2 on the other hand is pretty much the gold standard when it comes to smart features. It supports music streaming, Wi-Fi, LTE and eSIM. So with the appropriate mobile plan you can make calls or reply to messages directly from the Apple Watch even when your iPhone isn't nearby. It also supports various gesture controls like double tap, a feature currently only available on Huawei's new Watch 5. The Apple Watch offers a much wider selection of apps and also features an ultra-wideband chip which allows for precise location tracking of your iPhone. Speaking of the iPhone, here it's important to mention that the Apple Watch Ultra 2 can really only be used with an iPhone, while the Huawei Watch Fit 4 Pro is compatible both with Android and iOS. One major focus in all of my tests is accuracy, especially the accuracy of optical heart rate measurement, which is crucial since many other fitness metrics are based on your heart rate. So let's take a look at how accurate both watches are in this regard. Unfortunately, I can only show you these screenshots from Huawei as a comparison to a chest strap, but they clearly show that the Watch Fit 4 Pro tracks my heart rate very well while running. The curve is almost identical to that of a chest strap, and both the average and maximum heart rates are only negligibly different. When it comes to strength training, however, the watch was inaccurate, just like many other watches, and that applied to all of my sessions. In my experience, the Apple Watch has been the most accurate for these harder to track sports for years, whether it was a Series 9, Series 10 or in this case the Ultra 2. While there were occasional inaccuracies here as well, many parts of the curves match extremely well, something that can't be said about the Huawei watch. So this is definitely a result you can work with. And when it comes to running or cycling, the watch is spot on anyway. Accuracy is also crucial for GPS tracking. Both watches support what's known as dual band frequency GNSS, so they can both receive frequencies from the L1 and L5 band and from the GNSS systems GPS, GLONASS, Galileo, Beidou and QZSS. But precision isn't just about signal bands, it also depends on the watch's construction. So let's look at a few GPS tracking examples. While running through urban, forest and residential areas, both watches track my route very accurately. They don't cut corners and the recorded distances are spot on as well. As an extreme test, I always walked the same narrow forest path back and forth, and in this case the Apple Watch Ultra 2 was slightly more accurate than the Huawei Watch Fit 4 Pro, as the recorded outbound and return paths aligned more precisely. However, this small difference is unlikely to matter in everyday use, so based on my experience, both watches are accurate when it comes to GPS. And speaking of GPS, we can also talk about navigation. Both watches allow you to upload routes and navigate offline, but there are a few key differences. With the Apple Watch Ultra 2, you cannot navigate while you are in workout mode, so uploaded routes can only be accessed through the Maps app, which means you can record a workout and use the Maps app, but you have to switch between the two apps, which is far from ideal. That brings us back to the topic of expanding functionality, because again you can install third-party apps on the Apple Watch that allow navigation during workouts. I personally like using Work Outdoors for this, though this is a paid app. The Huawei Watch Fit 4 Pro comes with the Pedal Maps app pre-installed, and you can also upload topographic maps and routes to the watch. And above all, these can be used directly during workouts, which is a much better solution for athletes. Alright, so what's the final verdict on the comparison between the Apple Watch Ultra 2 and the Huawei Watch Fit 4 Pro? Which watch is better? To keep it short and sweet, the Apple Watch Ultra 2 is the better device overall, but still, I would say that the Huawei Watch Fit 4 Pro is the better choice for many people. Because at just 280 euros, it costs around a third of the price of the Apple Watch Ultra 2, but still manages to keep up in many regards. The Apple Watch is more rugged and premium, but also noticeably heavier and larger, making it less suitable for slimmer wrists. It's without question the better smartwatch with far more advanced and refined smart features, while both watches are nearly on par in terms of sports fitness and health tracking. The key difference here is that the Apple Watch offers significantly more potential for expanding its functionality almost without limits. Then there was battery life, which is better on the Huawei Watch Fit 4 Pro. Honestly, I still don't quite understand why Apple can't seem to manage even just 4 to 5 days of battery life on its watches. To be fair, I could also say that the Apple Watch Ultra 2 was released in 2023, so it's almost 2 years old now, while the Huawei Watch Fit 4 Pro is very new, it's brand new, it came out in May 2025. So yeah, I'm very curious whether we can expect a new Ultra 3 this year, and hopefully it will have a significantly better battery life. As for the Huawei Watch Fit 4 Pro, I also want to mention its non-Pro version. It offers fewer features, mainly no offline maps and no ECG, but at around 170 euros it's even more affordable and likely more than enough for many people. In the end, compatibility is also a major factor. You can only use the Apple Watch if you are an iPhone user, while Huawei watches work with both iOS and Android. I personally use an iPhone, I'd consider myself a tech enthusiast, and especially for this channel I always want to wear the best possible products regardless of price. That's why alongside various classic sports watches, I'll probably continue using the Apple Watch Ultra 2. That said, I still believe the Huawei Watch Fit 4 Pro offers significantly better value for money and is therefore the better choice for many users. But let me know in the comment section down below what you think about both of those watches, which one do you prefer and why. If you found this video helpful or interesting, you could really support me and my work here by giving this video a quick thumbs up, and if you don't want to miss any future reviews or comparison videos like this, you should definitely subscribe to this channel as well. But for now, thanks a lot for watching and see you next time.